built this club from nothing. And I loves it.
Welcome to episode 5 of In The Dugout. Today we are joined with Lee Davies, aka Gron. Gron, how are we, buddy?
I'm good, thanks, Stuart. How are you, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Looking forward to having a little chat with you, mate.
I've been looking forward to it all week.
Good. Boys, for Lee, but former player, played at the club for many years, and so we'll touch upon that later. And obviously a massive supporter of the club now. And somebody who's played in different eras and played with lots of different players, and to someone who's giving back to the club now and helped sponsoring us. So a massive thank you to you, Lee, as well. But I really appreciate it, and I know the club do as well, pal. So thank you very much.
My pleasure, mate. My pleasure.
And thanks for giving the time tonight as well, pal. So we'll have a bit of fun now, and looking forward to hearing a few stories.
Happy days.
Gron, so we'll go straight in, mate. What is your first memory of Bonamine?
Right, well, I'm called Gron because my father was Gron Davies, and he was a massive supporter of the club, and prior to me being born, he was a player as well. So I've been thinking about this. I reckon from around the age of 5, he used to take me up the club on a Saturday initially. He'd watch a rugby, and then me and the other kids, some names will be familiar. We'd like go off behind the post, chuck a rugby ball about. When we get bored with that, then we'd play war, which won't involve throwing stones at each other.
Mud bombs, yeah.
Yeah, but the other boys, as I got a bit older, more kids were up there. Boys like Stuart Turner, Alan Evans' boys, Neil and Phil. Stuart Jenkins used to be the club sec, his boys Nigel and Andrew, and then of course you had the Wilcox brothers as well. So I wouldn't have met any of them boys at that point because they were in different schools to me. Yeah. So even from that young age, you've got rugby bringing people together that wouldn't have otherwise known each other at that point, you know? Yeah,
spot on. So when it came to a Saturday, and I bet you were like, "Oh, Dad, we were at the club this week. We're going up there. You just can't wait, can you? Just can't wait to get there."
Yeah, exactly. And if the weather was rubbish and you were stuck in a club after the game, then you'd get filled with Coke and crisps. And I remember in the old lounge, they had a glass Space Invaders table.
Oh, God, I can't remember that.
So the old man would just be chucking me 10p's, keep me quiet. So it was a perfect day for me. And then as I got a bit older, then we used to go away as well. And the old man was on the committee. Now, this is probably, I don't know if you know this, but back then the first team coach didn't pick the team, the committee did.
No, wow.
Right? So the old man used to watch every week because he was on the committee, and they pick a team, I think on a Thursday night.
Yeah.
They'd have a selection meeting, right?
Well,
so you can imagine now, I'd imagine some of the teams they picked, about the first team coach was pulling his hair out. They'd all have their favourites, wouldn't they? They probably all had a few pints as well.
Yeah.
And can you imagine the arguments that used to go on? I'd love to be a player now.
Yeah. On the back of a fag packet or something like that. Brilliant.
So it developed from there, but it's a bit different to what Waller was saying then about it developing at that age into playing, because it wasn't a junior section at that point.
Cool.
But when I got to Kevin Engoy then at the age of 11, Alan Evans reformed the junior section.
Wow.
And our team, it obviously should have been under 12s, but because it was starting from scratch, you had boys of all ages playing in the one team.
Okay.
So it was boys who were still at the club and still support the club. It was myself, Lee Johnny Rogers, Hills, Gary Jenkins.
Yeah, class.
Things like that. Then you had the younger boys who would want to game in, like Neil Wilcox. I remember Stuart Turner, and he's going to kill me for telling this story. Alan Evans is his uncle, obviously, and they've got a great relationship. But when the team started, Stuart was 3 school years younger than us, right?
Wow.
And he wanted to play, and Alan wouldn't let him. And I always remember he had this massive crying tantrum because Alan wouldn't let him play. And I think as the season went on, then he relented a bit, and in the end, Stuart played, and he obviously never looked back. Like, but I always remember him having a huge tantrum with Alan because he wouldn't let him play. But there's also a couple of older boys who played as well. Simon Jones, who went on to captain the youth in the second team. And a few other boys, but what it created then, of course, we were dragging people up from school. To come and play. So there was loads of us in Kevin Engoid then, and we had enough then. I think by the end of that season, there was an under 12s, which is what we were, and then probably an under 10 stroke under 11 stroke under 10s. So it went from there really. And Alan, Alan restarted it, and the rest is history, really.
So who, when you got up the bottom line, then who was coaching your age then?
It was three parents. Chap called Jimmy Roach, who lived on Jersey Road. He was the local driving instructor. I always remember. He had a little blue Nova, and it was called Nova School of Motoring, right? And Jimmy was my best friend Mark's father, and Mark played for us as well, Mark Roach on the wing. Matthew Rees, who was our outside half throughout juniors and for most of youth, his dad Peter coached the backs.
Okay.
And then we were joined then, I don't think in the first couple of years, probably in the middle of juniors, by a policeman from Leith called Keith Elliott, and his boy Gerwin played hooker for us.
Okay.
So, it was it's the same old story, and it's three parents. Without putting any time in to coach us. And I got to be honest, and if you ever interview Alan Evans or other people from that area, they'll say, our team was a nightmare, and I'd have to put my hand up to that. We were absolute bunch of horrors, right? There's one incident, right, where Jolly's in the hall now, and he's throwing a rugby ball around on a Sunday morning, right, with another boy who played for us called Kevin Cataldo from St Thomas.
Okay.
And I can see them chucking this ball about now, and above them is a big brand new silver disco ball, right, which John Eagers just had installed. You probably see where this is going.
Yeah.
So Alan says, boys, put the ball down now, go outside, right? So I walk out, right, because I just...
What's going to happen, yeah.
I get to the front door of the club, and all I hear is a massive smash, and then Alan shouting at the pair of them, right? And John Higgs disco balls in smithereens on the floor of the hall. Things like that. And Alan and the men who coached us and other coaches within the junior section, they had patience of saints with us because trouble followed our team. It was just, it wasn't even always deliberate, just things used to happen that didn't happen to other teams. What
I love about him is like your memories now of like when you were 11, 12 years old. It's so vivid, isn't it? Because I don't know, speak for yourself, but it's like the best years, isn't it? It's like your best years. You meet your mates, your best mates, and your mates now, who still your mates from day one, Yeah,
exactly. Exactly that, and that's what rugby gives you above. I think most, if not all, team sports. It gives you that camaraderie and that bonding, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, I love that stuff. It's brilliant. Oh, class. So So obviously from day one, well, behind the post, mate, you started then playing, and then you went all the way through. Then is that right to youth team?
Yeah, played all the youth, seniors. Couple of gaps in seniors because in youth I went to Cardiff University, but I used to come home every weekend to play. I didn't miss a weekend. I'd always come home. Right. But then in seniors, then I was doing a postgraduate course. So I didn't play, I think, my second year of seniors because I was up in Cardiff. I thought I'd better concentrate in the box for a change. So so I didn't play. I think it was my third year of seniors. I didn't play. And then so I played from 11 until I think I was 28 when I packed it in.
Your youth team then, Gron. Who was in that team then? Can you remember?
Yeah. First, first year youth is as easy to remember as any because of the characters in the team. Fred Lewis was the team manager, Chris Lewis's dad.
Yeah.
And Fred was a Welsh youth selector as well.
Yeah, he was, right, yeah.
He was renowned in the youth game. So, we had a cracking team manager in Fred. And then the head coach for more, at least half of my youth was Mike Pauls.
Mike Pauls?
Big chap, beard, looked like an opera singer. His son Matthew played a bit at the club as well. But I think he was
okay. Yeah.
And Mike was a mountain of a man, right? And some stories you could tell with Mike, but one vivid memory of him, like a Tuesday night, and the wind and the rain as usual driving, and he used to wear like a cagoule, right? Like this massive cagoule, and he'd stand in the corner and he'd shout, "Run to me, run to me," right? And of course, it used to become a bit of a running joke, right? Like, and Mike was a great bloke. You could have good banter with him, and he'd be in the change rooms, and someone would whisper, "Run to me," and and he'd be laughing, and we'd have a joke, right? But that team, like, do you know Darren James C?
Darren
James C played on the wing, and James C was a great winger, really quick, but he won a trainer, right?
Yeah.
So when we were doing the running around the pitch, and Mike used to beast us sometimes. James would be running with the front five, right? And he used to drive Mike party.
I bet, mate. I can imagine.
Darren, what are you doing with the fatties? Darren, run to me. Things like that. So, a good bunch of boys. The eldest year, Richard Scannell.
Oh, great, yeah.
Sammy Maddox, Steve Thomas.
Oh, brilliant.
Those boys, the boys in my year, it was me, Jolly, Dials, Geraint Davis. I'm probably missing Gareth Wilson.
Yeah.
Good bunch of boys.
Some headers there, innit? Flipping heck.
Yeah. And they were throughout. And then in the middle year then, Paul Richards, a scrum half. Mark Thomas, Peter James's brother, was a number 8. Okay. Simon Jones, who I referred to earlier. Simon either played open side or he was a header. He was even too small for open side, right? But he had the heart of a lion. And when we went into seniors, then he played up there a lot.
Cool.
And I mention him again later. But so the first year of youth, I was a strong squad, and we didn't lose many matches. But I'll come on to this probably. But in my 3 years of youth, we had one big blind spot, and that was Dunvan.
Yeah.
We'd lose all focus when we played them because we just wanted to murder them, and we forgot what the aim of the game was a lot at the time. Yeah. We had some good games against them, but we had some awful ones as well.
Any reason in particular, Nick? Was there anything that stands out in your mind, or?
No, and it's funny, right? Because when you get my third year, and Dials told the story about the battle down the Elba and all that, a lot of the Dunvan and the Bonamine boys were quite good mates because we all played for Swansea College together. But when we played them, we lost sight of that, and the red mist would come down. It's like, like a phenomenon, really. And you look back and you think, what were we doing? Why? What were we trying to achieve other than, yellow, red cards and being on the wrong end of the scoreboard? But then, so halfway through youth, John Tregambo and Mark Llewellyn became involved. And also a chap, do you know Des Hughes?
Des Hughes.
His old man, Herbie, was the Neath physio.
I remember Herbie, smoking, flipping all the time. God.
Well, Des was Herbie's boy, and Des was a bit of a groundbreaking coach. He used to do all the skills with us and stuff, and he used to do the backs sometimes, but he used to make training different and interesting, so it always stuck with me, like Des' training sessions. So they were the coaches, or we had all good coaches, and they all brought something different to the party, and it was fabulous. I don't think you can beat youth rugby. I think it's
flipping great times.
best times. You haven't got many worries in your life, and all you care about is training and playing with your mates on the side.
That's right, mate. Yeah, you'd bust a gut to be up there, and it's great to see now that we've actually got a youth team back up there now. It's been a bit of a barren spell, unfortunately, for the last couple of seasons, but the boys, coaching staff up there now with the youth have done a hell of a job up there. So just hopefully we can get them back in, and we'll just have a conveyor belt of players coming through like we have done.
I saw that, and I was chuffed to see the youth were back, because of big miss for the club, wasn't it?
Yeah, massively, mate, massively. So yeah, I can't wait to get them back up and running, and seeing their initiations again, mate, like the old good old days. Brilliant, outstanding. So you played seniors, you played youth, and then you moved into seniors for a bit then, Gron? You want to touch upon that? Can you remember your first senior game?
Yeah, well, first senior game is two really. Is an unofficial one where I turned up. I was 18, turned up the club for a youth game on a Saturday, and it was called off. Yeah. So I remember I had a pale blue E-Reg Metro at the time, right? Thought it was the easy, terrible car, right? And I'm about to jump in the car and go home in a bit of a huff, because I was looking forward to a match. And Dean Fender grabs hold of me.
Oh, right? God, yeah.
And he said, "Come on, you're coming with the thirds. You're 18, aren't you?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I am 18. Yeah. Coming with the thirds." So he grabbed me and Jolly Rogers, and I remember me and Jolly driving down to Swansea Uplands going to play for the thirds. We had no preparation, no plan.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So that was my first unofficial game. I call it unofficial because I suspect I must have played under someone else's
alias,
because I wouldn't have been registered to play in the Swansea district for the thirds at that point.
Oh wow.
I know we lost because obviously they pulling in players, youth players who were depleted. Sure. And Swansea Uplands are their, their best side out. The thirds would never lose to Swansea Uplands normally. Yeah. But they were short of numbers that day. But I'm afraid to say, about 10 minutes in, I got yellow carded as well. Oh. So I don't forget that easily.
No, what happened?
Alleged illegal use of boot at the rack. That's all I'll say about it.
Mistaken identity, mate.
Yeah, exactly. Like Doddy Weir.
Yeah.
But my first official senior game, and this was memorable as well, was Penlan away.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and I always remember the tone was set from the first minute. The ball goes out. James Bibby was our rocker, and James went to get the ball, and a woman in the crowd spat at him. And I never watched a game in Man United before. I was just looking at it thinking, what have I let myself in for?
It's in right, like.
No, and when Bonham played Penlan in home and away, everyone comes out for it, doesn't they?
Yeah.
Up in Man United, it's not the easiest place to go. Oh. The crowd are on top of you, and they're baying for blood, don't they? Right? Sort of modern day gladiator.
Yeah.
So that was my first senior game. I'm pretty sure we won that. It was a second day, muddy and windy, and it was like sort of beginning of September. So typical money.
Yeah, typical, yeah.
But yeah, that was an eye opener, and in a way it was good because I think you left that game under no illusions of what senior rugby was about and how it could be.
Yeah, if you can cope up there, mate, then you're in a good stead there, aren't you?
Yeah, quite.
Correctly. Yeah, I've had a few battles up there, and I remember one of the boys getting filled in on the floor by someone. I think it was Luke Jones. I've spoken to him about him a few times on this. He used to play with me, great player. And he was getting filled in on the floor by someone, and the ref came over and sent him off. He was getting filled in, left the boy on who was battering him like, I just couldn't believe it. He wanted to get home in one piece, I think, so he then sent the boy off like. But
it's that type of ground, isn't it?
Oh mate, wow. So those are your first kind of like senior memories of playing for Bonavine.
Yeah.
So we'll go on to the toughest game or toughest opponent, mate.
I'll cover both. Toughest opponent, two came to mind, funny enough, both hookers. Steph James, who ended up playing at Bonham. Steph played his youth rugby for Gleiss.
Yeah.
And we played against him a lot, and he was a nightmare. You know, he killed more balls than a vasectomy surgeon. You know? You just couldn't get him off the ball on the right. 8 of you could clog him to death, and he'd still come back for more. It was suggested on more than one occasion, and maybe he enjoyed the pain a little bit too much.
Yeah, I think so. He's that type of character, I think, mate.
Yeah, so Steph was one of the toughest, but the one who really sticks in mind was Steve Jabba Jones, who ended up with the Dragons.
Yeah. Welsh international. Huh.
Yeah, he had a cap, but he played his youth rugby for Neath Athletic.
Okay.
And we used to play them again regularly, and he was just a monster. You know, he wasn't a dirty player. He was just tough as nails and incredibly hard to play against. He didn't have a weakness. He's good at everything.
When you played against him, did you think, this boy, he could go higher? Like, do you just know?
You can just tell with some players, can't you? Because whereas sometimes a game can pass you by in certain aspects, the best players, it doesn't.
No, you're right.
You could tell with him, he had the composure. Didn't get riled up, or you know, we try and wind him up, get him a bite. He just rise above it, and he was just a better player. And you can just tell with certain players, can't you?
Exactly.
They got more time in the game. They make all the right decisions, and he was just one of them, I think.
Yeah, and nice guy as well. He's,
lovely guy. We used to see him quite a bit because at one point he worked behind the bar for Yorty's old man in the William Hancock.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you know, when he was younger, so we'd often have beers down there and see him.
Share a few stories.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. You know, I didn't know him that well, but he's always seemed a nice bloke, and he was he's a monster on the pitch for all the right reasons. Like.
Yeah, outstanding. Toughest game, mate?
Yeah, the toughest team I sort of was looking at, and you know, we've got all the Penland it probably wins because at the time I was playing with the Athletic and the Seconds. Don't know why they ever got called the Athletic, but it's one of life's mysteries, isn't it?
Yeah, I know.
Penland probably our biggest rivals. It was their first team because they weren't in the league, the National League at the time, and they were probably, you know, they were probably our biggest rivals. Not just because of the local rivalry, but they were one of the best teams.
Yeah.
I was looking earlier, and you forget how good that West Wales League was, you know. Penland, Dunvant, Whitland, Llandovery, Narberth.
Oh, great. But
whenever you went west of Swansea, you knew you were going to have a game on your hands. And those teams down west, they took that league very seriously as well. They'd always have 5 or 6 first team boys involved. So it was always a monster battle. Dunvant, whilst they were in that league, and given what I've already said about them, we always did really well in that league against Dunvant. So the rivalry wasn't as big as it had been.
Yeah.
You know, Penland had taken over then, and of course, you know, the West Wales teams have already mentioned. But a funny one was Llangadog. I don't know if you ever played there. Right.
No, I never played.
It's Llangadog's. It's the other side of Llandovery, I think, right? Little farming village, tiny rugby club, lovely little clubhouse. But they were always hard up front. They give you a dog's life up front. They didn't really have any backs who could pass and catch.
Yeah.
So it would just be, you know, 9-man rugby, and it was always a hard day out down there. So I thought I'd give them a mention because a lot of the boys may not have heard of them, but they were a real handful up front. They were.
Those second team fixtures. But I used to really enjoy playing them, like Whitland, Narberth.
Yeah.
I remember Llandovery seconds are very strong when I was playing, and I remember we had to go down there to get a result down there, and we were leaving the club, and I was messing around at the back, standard really, and Ray Punchard was playing at the time. And he just absolutely rinsed me. He was like, "Stewart, sit down, shut up, switch on." It was like an hour away from the game. Like, it's an hour away on the bus. Like, I sat on a bus like that then, all the way down. Like, it's too scared to say anything.
Well, funny enough, I got a similar story. I remember after Neil Sturgis stopped coaching us, Matthew McCarthy took over. Right?
Yeah.
And we were having a good season. Matthew had us playing some good rugby. It may, I can't remember if Matthew coached us for 1 or 2 seasons before he went to coach at first. But this incident sticks in my mind in that they were obviously grooming Matthew to move up and take the first team at some point.
Yeah.
So this particular weekend, we playing, it was someone like Whitland or Narberth. Matthew had been asked to go with the firsts. So we're at the club now, sat on the bus, on the old Briggsy's bus, giggling, laughing, making fun of each other. All of a sudden, dark shadow in the centre of the bus. We look up and it's Ted, it's Neil Sturgis. And I always remember he just looked at us all and he said, "You're not with the school teacher today, boys." And I was at the tone on the bus just changed.
Yeah.
Everyone switched on, and I think we did quite well in the game. We won it, but it was just how an atmosphere on a bus.
Oh, it just changes, yeah. Flip of a coin, like that's the way it was, isn't it? God.
It's always made me chuckle, that incident has.
Yeah.
And
I hope, like with our seconds, they've done really well. And the league that we're in now, the Ospreys Cup, Ospreys League, is a competitive league. Some good teams. Ken Vigil seconds are strong, and we always have some good games. But it would be so good to go have a couple of games down west again. Whitland seconds and Arbor seconds, and more for us, like a social side of it as well. Just on a stop off on the way home, and it's nothing better, is it?
No, well, I reckon. I know it's come up a couple of times. I reckon if you added up the amount of money born on first and seconds are put in the Farmer's Arms.
Farmer's Arms, yeah.
Oh, they're nice. I said we could probably build a training barn.
We'd go around, mate. You'd put like 20 minutes on our journey just to go there, mate. It was ridiculous in the end. And then it's like, we stop in a farm. Like, well, where's the other direction? We stop there for 1, and then 1 will turn to 2, 3, 4. I'll be murders then, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Great times.
Club then, but no, it was a pleasure to play down west because we'd always have a good welcome. All classy clubs were down there, to be fair.
Yeah, you're right.
Everyone. And then stop off on the way home, then, isn't it?
Oh, mate, brilliant.
Great
times. So, any memorable game that sits in your mind, Gron?
2 sprung to mind. Neither of them probably to many other people particularly memorable, right? But Dale's got me thinking about talking about the Battle of the Elba and all that with Dunwood Youth. But the previous season, so it would have been our second year youth, we played them. It was like a Christmas time, and we played them on the second team pitch at the club, and they trouncing us, and a massive fight broke out, and we probably edged the fight then, right? But the game was gone. We thrown it away. Jolly got sent off for something he did during the fight, which I don't think I'll drop him in it. Right? But put it this way, it was a deserved red.
He's gonna let you stand on.
No, but that was a bit of a turning point for us because I think we all had a good look at ourselves after that and thought, did we really want to be losing, getting stuffed by them because of the bad attitude we had?
Yeah.
And after that, then the last season and a half of youth, we always used to win a lot more than we lost, but I think we became a lot more professional, if you like, in our approach, and we were a lot in most games, and we were a lot more disciplined. But Geordie's claim to fame off the back of that was he actually got sent off 3 times that season and should have been banned for a season. But the last red card was the last game of the season down in Mumbles. And I can't remember. In my mind, it was Monty, Mark Llewellyn, but it could easily have been John Craig. One of them gave the ref a little cuddle after the game and persuaded him not to report it, because Jolly wouldn't have played his last year youth otherwise. And I'm going to have to tell you what the second yellow card is for now, aren't I?
You're going to have to know, but you're going to have to.
Because this is groundbreaking stuff. He got sent off up in Antamoy. He'd already been subbed. He'd been taken off. We were all playing terribly. It was just his turn to come off, right? And the referee was having a bit of a mare of a game, and he gave them a penalty. Jolly's watching on his tracksuit and picks up a big lump of mud and throws it to the referee square in the head. Red card.
Can you imagine him putting on the report today? Oh
Yeah.
my God, amazing.
Big lump of mud, bang, right in the side of the head, off you go. You couldn't make it up, could you?
Oh, mate.
Anyone else has ever been sent off for that?
What a guy, all right. Well, and the amount of hours that he's doing at the club as well, it's flipping incredible. So he's a top man. He is, mate. You cut him, he's black and red, but that's amazing. I never knew that. Throwing mud at the ref. That's flipping brilliant. Yeah,
so those were his 3 cards. Very quickly, the other memorable game. Remember playing South Gower? They'd gone into the West Wales League, and they'd had a good start of the season because everyone was tipping them they were going to get stuffed. But they won their first 5 games.
Okay.
And they were being coached at the time by a bloke who played a little bit for Bonham, I think, New Zealand guy called Mark Bernard, the hooker. He played a few games at the club. I don't think he was there very long, but everyone knew he was. And so they came up with a big reputation, and everyone saying, they're 5 games unbeaten, blah blah blah. And we absolutely smashed them. I think it was something like 70-0.
Yeah.
And it was one of those. The reason I say it's a memorable game, other than the score, you just have a day when everything goes right. Well, everything the boys touched that day just worked and resulted in tries and stuff. So that just really stuck in my mind, just because you don't have many games where you think,
no, it all goes well,
all went to plan. I think they didn't score, and if they did, I think they scored a penalty. But from minute 1 to minute 80, they just weren't in the game. We just blew them away.
Everything clicked.
Yeah, and you don't often get to say that, do you?
No, gosh, no. When it does happen, though, like you said, well, it makes you remember it, doesn't it? 'Cause it doesn't often happen.
Exactly.
Great stuff. Grant, we're going to move on now, right, to your Bonamine 15. Have you had as much trouble as the other boys in coming up with your 15?
Yeah, good few sleepless hours. And the problem with it, as other boys have pointed out, is once you start thinking of one, someone else pops into your mind, and then someone else pops into your mind. And I think I said to you before we started recording this, I could have put probably in most positions 3 or 4 people in every position. And make a good argument for them all.
Yeah.
I think I may have a bit of stick off some of the boys in our WhatsApp group.
Oh man, this is what it's all about for me. Yeah.
But I can justify each and every selection, I reckon. And if anyone wants to argue with me over a pint, I look forward to it. But I should probably explain as well. When we were talking about me doing this, I wasn't sure how I was going to go about it, whether I was just going to pick boys who I played with, or if I was going to try and pick from, games I remember from when my old man used to take me. Yeah. And that was my first intention, but it was just impossible. Yeah. I just couldn't do it. So I've stuck to broadly boys I played with in senior rugby.
Yeah, spot on. And like you said, like we touched upon before, it's great to get different people's opinions and everything. So everybody, when the club does open soon, we can all have a sit down and go, remember that time when you didn't pick me now? Yeah. And get around in or something like that. Like, so it's just great that we can have this conversation and we go for what you think is your favourite 15. So it's all over to you, mate. So we're gonna go for Lucid to start.
All right, that Lucid. So many good props have gone through the club over the years, who I've played with, let alone all the others. 3 came to mind because I played with them all, but one of them was a sort of, did he play prop? And I had to check with him, and I'll explain why in a minute. So I thought about Buzzy, obviously, because Buzzy was first year youth and I was third year youth. Then we played in the seconds together. Yeah. Couldn't really have this conversation without mentioning Buzz. And then a boy came to mind called Lee Owens, right? Now, Lee's a Winchwen boy. He played all his junior and youth rugby at the club. and he played some senior rugby, right? But then he moved on. He ended up at Pontardawe in the end, but I think he may have had a few years off as well.
Okay.
But the reason Lee came to mind, because you can't say this about many players, he played in all his junior rugby as centre, right? Youth rugby then, some at centre and some in the back row.
Yeah.
And then he definitely played for Bonamine first and seconds in the front row.
Flipping heck.
He was strong as an ox and very quick, and he was a big lump of a guy, but he was, you know, he could carry it. He was fast. Yeah. So Lee came to mind as well, simply because, you know, what an athlete, like, what?
Yeah.
Strong as an ox. But the person I went with in the end was Gavin Thomas.
Gavin Thomas.
Gavin was a blind Wimby boy. He joined us in youth. He's living in Canada now. He's emigrated, but he played seconds and first at the club.
Yeah.
But Gavin, and Dials forgot to tell you this, Gavin was the cause of the Battle of the Elba.
All right, come on.
Because Gavin left Bonamine Youth and joined Dunvant Youth.
Oh, right then.
And that's why the boys were swapped for it. That was one of the reasons why the boys were swapped for it that day.
Right.
So Gavin actually played for Dunvant that day.
Yeah.
And then after youth, then he came back to the club. But he could do everything, Gavin. He was a great scrummager, good in a set piece. Didn't like rucks or mauls because he liked to carry the ball. Yeah. And I suspect in one of the youth seasons, he was probably our top scorer because he used to score so many tries.
Yeah.
Lightning quick, really mobile around the park, and he had everything really. And I think if he was a youth now, he may well have gone all the way. You know, he was that good, Gavin was, and he's a cracking teammate as well. Like, always had a song for every occasion.
Amazing, yeah.
I think some of the songs do the rounds at the club now. He introduced, and they've been passed down through the years.
Past generations, yeah. So
Gavin, as Lou said, anyway.
Is he? He's not living in Alberta, Canada, is he? Gron?
Not sure. I matched with him on LinkedIn. I'll have to have a look.
We'll have to see him, yeah. When we're out there, that'll be good. We'll have a little catch up.
He hasn't long gone. He was a fireman before that. And then he recently emigrated out. I think he does like health and safety work and stuff like that. I'll have a look to see where he is and tell him when we're going to be in Canada, and it'd be great if we could meet him.
Yeah, spot on. Great stuff. Hooker.
Right, hooker, again, you know, so many good ones. Like, as a kid, I remember watching Nicky Cunniff, and you just knew he had everything. He was nails. You just didn't want to cross Nicky.
Oh, God.
Whereas, you know, in the bar, having a pint, he's a top gentleman, isn't he?
Yeah.
But, you know, on the pitch, he was an handful. I remember as a kid, he was one of the players I noticed first. Never played with Nicky, but he did. The last year I played, Nicky was the coach. Athletic. I got to mention Gareth Wilson. Gareth only played a couple of senior games for the club, but he was a hooker throughout juniors and youth, and he's an animal, right? Yeah. And he won't be offended. He'd expect me to call him that. Yeah. And again, he had pure aggression, great around the pitch, good in the line out. You know, he was a good hooker. But before I tell you who I've gone for a two, I wanted to mention one other bloke, and that's Gary Windle. Yeah. Like, Gary didn't get to play for Bonamine that often because he was away with the army all the time. Right. But when you did play with him, he was brilliant. He's a couple of years older than me, you know, and he sort of give you an armchair ride through the game, Gary. Yeah. He's a brilliant hooker, and he's still playing, I think, with
he's been like
veteran side.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Stuff because he's in top shape and because of his job, and he's still playing a lot of veterans rugby, I think. But you know, Gary, if Gary had been based at home, you know, I think he would have, you know, he would have played a lot for the senior teams, including the first team. But ultimately, the one I went for, and this is the matchup I think the public want to see, is Steph James.
Oh yes.
So, you know, Darren's been picked twice, and he.
He's been in a few squads.
And I think that's the front row battle people are shaping up to want to see. You know, I said about Steph earlier, I didn't play that much for Baldwin with him, but played quite a lot of junior and youth rugby in various sides with him.
Yeah.
And like I said, he's an animal, you know, but controlled. And, you know, he'd give 100% in every game. So I think that would be a heck of a battle, him and him against Darren.
They used to go out there in training, mate. Yeah, he was superb back in the day. They used to go out there in training. And Steph now, obviously, he's come back to us as a forwards coach. And just his attention to detail and everything has been superb. And I know the boys really enjoy the sessions which we have been able to do. And he's going to bring something different to our team this year. And looking forward to work with him because he coached me. I played with Steph, but then he coached us when we were like really young going into the first. Yeah. And he was superb for us. Like he changed a few things, and we went on a big winning streak. So yeah, a lot of time for Steph, mate. So yeah, he'll be tough for that as well. And to say that he was a tough guy as well, mate. He'd love that. He'll definitely give you a pint in for that. Tight head.
Right, tight head again. Quite a few. Buzz again, because Buzz could play both sides, and that's no mean feat in the front row to be able to play both sides to a high standard, and he could, to be fair. Got to mention Nigel Evans because played with him a few times. He's superb, but he was also great when we were coming through. He'd always have some words of advice for you about, about the scrummage technique or whatever, and he's just an all-round nice guy, and he'd always have time for you. But the tight head I'd gone for, and he played at least one full season. He played loads of second team rugby, but he had at least one full season with the first. And that's Kevin Coco Willis on the tight head.
Okay.
I don't know if you know Coco.
I've heard of him, mate, but I don't think I know him, no.
Well, he called Coco because when we were kids, he had a massive mop of ginger hair. But now he's got hair like me, like, so if you saw him, you'd wonder why he was called Coco. And you'd also think I was crazy if you saw him now saying that he's a tight head, because he's got the build now of like a Tour de France cyclist. He does a hell of a lot of cycling.
Well,
completely transformed. He looks, we wouldn't really reckon if I showed him a photo of him playing in a photo of him now, just completely different. But Coco, he was a man of few words and just let his rugby do the talking. Immensely strong tight head, immensely fit as well by the time he got to the first team. He trained trained very hard, and so I'm going for Coco on the tight head.
Excellent.
Great bloke.
Second rows, but 4 and 5.
I found this difficult. So many good second rows over the years. What I used to find out for when I first went into the second team was when Neil Sturgis was good at always making sure there was a bit of experience with us.
Yeah.
Like I remember Gabo came back and had a few games, right? And again, what a tough man.
Yeah.
Go about his work quietly, but who knew he was there?
Yeah.
John Baldwin, again, great bloke, great second row. Whenever he stepped down to play with us, he always put 100% in, and he was a good second row. And I always remember as a kid loving watching Pat Nolan and Billy McFenton.
Everyone's mentioned Pat as well, but everyone.
What a partnership they were.
Yeah.
But the two I went for in the end, and sorry, I should mention Stuart Miller as well, because I love playing with Stuart Miller. He was a great set. But I gone for two in the end. First one, number 4, Lee Robbins.
Yeah.
I played a lot of college rugby with Lee and a bit for Bonamine, and he's a man mountain. Considering his size as well, good around the park, great in the line out in the scrum.
Yeah.
And I think it always makes a difference if you've got someone of his size in the second row, eyeballing the opposition. It puts you on the foot, doesn't it?
Send him out first. Send the biggest one out first.
Number 5, I gone for Andrew Yates.
Yachty. He love you for that, but.
Well, he probably moan that I haven't put him on the blind side, right? Because he likes him moan. But he was, he played a lot in the boiler house, and proper leader of men would always get the boys going and get them going on the front foot, and would always, I think, in any team, bind the team together.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a sort of mismatch in height in it, but I'm going to go for Lee Robbins and Yachty in the second row.
I played a little bit with Yachty when he was coming to the end for the seconds, and like you said, he was, a very good talker, and he carried well and stuff, man. And he was just, you could see like a passion he still had for Bonnymine as well playing. So it was really good for a youngster like myself, and to come through. Yeah, so yeah, awesome, mate. Number 6. Blindside.
Number 6 again, could go on for ages, but I remember when Andrew McPherson Perce used to come play with the seconds. He was a machine, tough as nails. So I thought about him, but the guy I'd gone for is RJ Robert Dulio. Absolute brilliant player, but again on the pitch, man, a few words. Would lead by example, and if he did say something, it meant it was something worth saying because because he was saying it. And I remember him coming up. I think he's at least 2, maybe 3 years younger than me, but he just stepped up into senior rugby as if he'd been playing it all his life. And
he was a dog, wasn't he? Absolute dog.
Complete dog. It's what you've got to have in the back row.
Awesome. Number 7, what was I?
This wasn't difficult, but I will mention one other player, and that was Peter Thorney. Absolute machine at the breakdown, tackle rate, everything you'd want in an open side. But there's only one 7 for me, and that's Dials.
Is he?
Absolute monster. He had everything really, other than size, and he didn't need size because he was so good. It didn't matter about his size, and there's not many players you can say that about. But when Dai was got up to the first team, my old man and his 2 best mates, Byron Bryant, Howell's brother, and Brian George, they used to follow the first team everywhere, right, all man away, and I used to get fed up in the end because they'd come back to the club, or we'd come back to the club, and all they do is talk about Dials all to say he was a fan's favourite. That's all my mum would talk about. Oh, Di did this, Di did that.
All right,
I'm surprised he didn't adopt him and put me up for adoption.
I know when I spoke to Di the other week on you, and try to say that he kind of made that position his own, didn't he? Because he was so unique. Because he said he want the biggest, but he'd be into everything. Be the bottom of every single ruck. He'd slow something down, and and he was nails. Like he'd get flipping booted, kicked, punched, and he just carry on. Like he epitomised to me what Bonnymine is like.
We had a tactic at one point. We'd even use him as a jumper in the line-out because you could get him so high because he was so
one hand. Yeah.
It would depend where the ball was on the pitch because obviously you'd want him flying a lot of the time. But if you wanted guaranteed quick line-out ball, you'd throw Dyer. He could even do that. Sickening.
Well deserved, mate. Brilliant. And number 8, finish off your pack now. Who have you gone for?
Yeah, number 8. I'll mention, I don't think he played any senior rugby, but Geraint Davies played 8 throughout youth, and Geraint was a brilliant number 8. Absolutely superb, strong, big, good ball carrier. Again, everything you'd want in an 8. Mark Thomas, who I briefly mentioned earlier, Mark was a good number 8. I think he got it. I don't think he had a cap, but I think him and Paul Richards got in the Welsh youth squad at one point.
Okay.
They didn't. I don't think they quite got as far as having a cap, but they must have been good. To get that far. But I'm gonna go for someone who I've already mentioned quite a bit, and I think everyone who comes on here does, because even though he was our coach, when we needed him, or if we were struggling with numbers, he'd still put the boots on and put the fear of God in the opposition, and that was Neil Sturgis. He'd come on if he hadn't started, and he'd just change the game. Because of his strength, always on the front foot. Big tackles. And just his presence on the pitch. It helped.
Of course it did. Yeah.
So even though I wouldn't have played very many times with him, I got to put him in that pack because it'd get it on the front foot.
I love that pack, and a good thing, one of the best things about it is the total different pack to what we've had in previous weeks as well. So talking about different players you play with, and it's just to see and just to mention the players that have come through Bonamine over these years, it's flipping incredible. And if you're looking back,
and I think with the exception of Steph and Lee Robbins, everyone else in that pack played youth rugby for Bonamine.
Amazing. Just goes to show, doesn't it, what the club has done over the years, producing all this talent,
Yeah, and the importance of having a youth team in it, really. So
massively.
To get to that back.
Scrum half.
Again, played with loads of good scrum halves. I know he's still having the odd game now, but Chris Davis was playing regularly when I went into the seconds.
Yeah.
Not much I can say about Chris that I already said.
Yeah.
Dubious disciplinary record, but an all-round great scrum half. Danny Jones played scrum half a fair bit. Again,
what a player, mate! What a talent, Danny Jones. Oh,
another combative scrum half. Quick story about Danny. First year of youth, playing down in. He was a year younger than me, so I'd been second year. Playing down in Kidwelly under the lights on a Friday night. Big fight breaks out now, and they had this monster, huge number 8. He sees Danny, he thinks, I'm going to beat up the little scrum half.
Yeah.
Well, I think, I always forget, it's either kickboxing or karate. He's a black.
Yeah.
Well, all you saw was a little flurry of hands, bim, 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 and the number 8
He's got
flat on the floor. And I think it was either Danny's first youth game or one of his first. So, he was always great to play with.
Yeah.
Paul Richards as well, played youth rugby with Paul and some senior rugby. He was a great scrum half, Paul. But one of those scrum halves wanted to run everything. He'd be knackered.
Oh, God, yeah. Not me, mate. That wouldn't be me. Oh, God, kick it to the corners.
Tap and go. Paul was all about that. And sometimes you used to have to say to him, Paul, kick it out next time. Put it out, mate. But the one I'd gone for, Bonamine's favourite fireman, I think, is Stuart Turner. I think.
Amazing.
From that very first crying fit I told you about earlier, he's always been Bonamine through and through, hasn't he?
He's come a long way, but since then, hasn't he?
Yeah, and but in all seriousness, what a brilliant scrum half to play with. He was so quick at the base, brave, good box kick. Great delivery. I'd imagine if you were playing 10 outside him, I don't think he threw many bad ones. So yeah, I'm going to go with Stuart Turner at 9.
He's still doing jobs for us for the seconds as well, pal. Honestly, he keeps himself in good nick, and he's
probably fitter now than he was when he was playing.
His mental shape and him fair play, and what a real top man.
He doesn't do any work, does he? He just in the gym all day, and then he texted the group one day saying he was doing yoga.
Oh my gosh, flip it, heck. You living the dream, man. Living the dream
completely.
What well deserved, but then what a real top man. A lot of time for Turners. Outside half.
Yeah. Again, loads of names. I was in the athletic or seconds, whatever you want to call it, when Warlow came through. Again, he just he took it like a duck to water. Great outside half. Same for Twiggy, Anthony Evans. He came into the second team, and he almost straight away looked like one of the best players on the pitch.
Class.
Phenomenal kicker.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Another lad who I'm not sure many will remember, because when he played 1 year as seniors out the youth, and a boy from Birchgrove called James Risley.
No.
James played 10. In his first season out the youth, and I think we won nearly everything that season. And he's a big outside half, which was unusual.
Yeah.
He looked more like an outside centre, or even a back row player. But James was a good player, cracking kicker. Bit of a wild card one as well. Like one guy I can remember playing with a handful of times was Steve Bowling. Right, Steve Bowling played outside half and full back for Llanelli in the 80s and 90s.
Right.
And he ended up in the first team at a club. I don't know if he was up playing on permit
Yeah.
or whether he signed for a season, I can't remember, right? But he played a few first team games, I know. But he came with the seconds a few times, and this guy, right? He was top level player, albeit at the end of his career. And we played Vardra away, and he came with us. And one thing that stuck in my mind, because I knew the name and I'd watched him play when I was a kid, I knew he was a great player. But he's one of these players, he's having a fag, 10 seconds before kick-off.
Just a raw talent, like.
Yeah, and then I remember the Vardra game. We normally used to beat Vardra in the seconds fairly comfortably, but we were struggling this day. Nothing was going for us. So it's half time now. He's trying to squeeze 2 fags in, right, into his 10 minutes. And then the second half, he just turned the game. He's going through gaps of on there. Like he looked like one of those French players in the 80s. So I have to mention that because it's just a couple of games I played with him, and you just thought this guy's a different level. I looked him up today, and he actually went on tour with Wales, the full Welsh side, but didn't get a cap, didn't get on the pitch.
God.
Yeah, I think he had some air caps.
Yeah.
Didn't have a full cap, but yeah, I thought I mentioned him. But I'd gone again. This probably be one of the controversial ones, but I'd gone for Danny Jones at 10.
I can see it, definitely. Yeah.
Because Danny played everywhere. He played scrum half, he played outside half, and he played full back.
Yeah.
A few games of centre. But the reason I went for him as 10, because I watched back bits and bobs of the other ones, and I think in either every one or nearly everyone said the same thing about the outside half, or they can't tackle.
One tackle, yeah.
Well, complete opposite for Danny. Love to tackle. Would love to slam someone into the ground for fun.
100%.
And he had he had the all-round game to play at 10. So I've gone for him there, because of his all-round ability, really. And I had to get him in there somewhere. And I felt 10 was the best because, he can fill in at 9, he can fill in at 15, but he can
7.
Yeah.
With him and Turner, so you're pretty much playing with 2 more flankers there. They'd be at bottom of every single ruck, they will be, buddy. So nobody to get the ball out.
By the time I come to the end of the team, you'll see the fatal flaw in this back line, right?
Right, okay. Left wing, who have we gone for?
I'd gone for a club legend on left wing, who, again, I was lucky enough to play quite a lot with because he'd come down to the seconds then, and he was doing a bit of coaching with us as well, and that's Keith Brooks.
Legend.
I didn't even look at other players for that position. He stuck in my mind straight away. He was a great finisher. If you give Keith a chance, 9 times out of 10 he'd take it.
Yeah. Great
tackler, very physical, very aggressive, even though he wasn't the biggest bloke. But he was a big help to the boys coming out the youth, Keith was.
Definitely, man.
And it was something I talked about earlier. I think, Neil Sturgis like to have a scattering of players like that in the team to help the kids through.
Definitely, man.
And Keith was a big help, to myself, to Dials, people like that. I know he was. And so he's my 11 anyway.
He epitomises bottom line, and he's bottom line through and through. He's done everything at that club. Even coaching the women now as well successfully, and he's just an absolute top man. So thoroughly deserved there. Inside centre. Yeah,
inside centre. Loads of great players at the club over the years in the backs. We've got to mention Mark John. He's a club legend. I didn't play that often with him, but when he did, wow, what a player. And I saw something he put on Twitter this week, and I'd forgotten this, but he put a programme, I think they were playing the Carmarthen Quins, and he was playing 10, and I forgot he played 10 as well in my mind. He was just a centre. I forgot he was good enough to play that level.
Yeah.
So obviously we've got to mention Mark.
What a player.
Colin Jones was another great centre.
Yeah.
I can remember Colin playing in the seconds, and he made it look easy. Again, one of those players with time on the ball.
He's 100%, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? Everything that he does, he's 100%, and that's exactly what you need in your team.
I feel sorry for those dogs he trains, because you can imagine.
They're doing the dishes in his house and everything, mate. He's got him well trained, buddy. He's living the dream.
But yeah, the number 12 I gone for is Steve Thomas, Tomo. Played youth and senior rugby with. Incredibly strong guy. Good at. Sorry, Tomo's 13. I got it wrong, right?
It's all right. We'll stick with him on 13, no problem.
Tomo's 13. Incredibly strong guy. Good hands. Complete head case. Quick story about him. Tomo, bit of a boring nickname in it because he's just Tomo, yeah. One season, his nickname changed to Pie and Chips. And again, this is a legendary incident within our players. We're all waiting in the bar now, home game, waiting for him to turn up. Gonna get fined anyway if you're late.
Yeah.
So, and it was at a time, I think, where we may have been a bit low on numbers. So Alan Miller was the team manager, and Alan would be, ringing round on a Saturday morning to make sure people were coming. And, so we're all waiting in, right? And I think we're waiting for Tomo. And time's ticking on. And Neil Sturgis says to Alan Miller, where's Tomo? Where's Tomo? I've rung him, Neil. He's definitely coming. So the doors swing open now. And this is probably an hour before kick-off, right? Tomo's got large chips and a pie from Colwyn Avenue Chippy. Eating it, dipping his chips.
Not a care in the world, like.
He's walked into the door. Alan Miller is just staring at him, speechless. You can see Ted is starting.
He's gone, like, yeah.
Right? He's gone, right? Pie and chips, Tomo, pie and chips, right? And for the rest of that season, he's always referred to as pie and chips. But a great player. And the reason he's 13, and I should have mentioned at 13 Neil Wilcox, right? Because fabulous player, played a lot of rugby with him. Yeah. The reason Coxie hasn't made the cut, and I'm expecting him to give me a bit of grief, is that at 12 I'm going to play Sammy Maddock.
Okay.
Right, and the significance of that is that Sammy and Tomo, they played together throughout, from kids.
Wow.
From kids all the way through to seniors.
Okay.
And I think in different times, they would have been a centre partnership, for 10, 15 years in the first team, because they were phenomenal together. They really brought the best out of each other, and they were massive mates as well off the pitch. And so I went for a partnership.
Partnership, I like that. I love that thinking. Brilliant.
So that's my 12 and 13.
Okay. Right wing.
Yeah, only one candidate for me, despite the fact I made fun of him quite a bit. And that's Lee Jolly Rogers, Mr. Bonham himself.
Brilliant.
He's not just in there because he's my one of my best mates and he's a great clubman, but he's a truly good rugby player.
Strong as an ox.
Strong as an ox, great finisher. Slightly prone to the odd drifting of the concentration. Like he'd be playing on the second team pitch and watching the first team game. But no, absolutely phenomenal finisher. Not many people probably know this, right? But Jolly, when we played for Swansea Schoolboys, he scored a hat-trick against Newport in the semi-final on St Helens, which top quality game at. And and he scored a hat-trick on St Helens to get us through the final. Yeah, so Jolly's a 14. I think he'd be chuffed at that.
Yeah, mate, deserved as well. What a guy. Right then, 15. But who's there?
Right, in the mix here, I did contemplate picking Magic Med. But the reason I didn't, then I remembered all the times he'd done some crazy run or kick, and I had to turn around and sort of, out of breath,
trundle back.
Yeah, so I held that against him.
Yeah, I don't blame him.
But Med was a great attacking player, On his day, nobody knew what he was going to do, and when it came off, absolutely phenomenal. And again, like Jolly, strong as an ox.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah,
strong.
100%.
And when he was ill back in the first lockdown, all the boys put together, and
yeah, superb, mate.
we're all rooting for him, and it was the best news that ever when he pulled through, and everyone was thrilled, wasn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
Other boy I thought of, again, I don't think he played up a club for that long, but he played, I think, about 2 seasons on and off, a full back, called Andrew Thomas.
All right.
I can't remember where he came from, but quite a stocky full back, blonde hair. But he was fast and strong, good boot on him. But I remember he had a bad injury. We were playing down in Broadacre, and he did his knee in. And the reason it's memorable, not just because it was a bad injury, but for some reason they sent the air ambulance down for him.
Oh.
Yeah, so we're all standing there waiting around, and there's a helicopter landing on
Flipping it.
Yeah,
surprised you didn't try nicking it after the boys playing for your team.
I think if they were knackered, they might have.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was a great attacking fullback, Andrew. But the one I'd gone for, again, I played a lot of my senior rugby with him. Solid, strong, quick. And he would keep Jolly on his toes, right? He'd make sure Jolly's head was on it. And that's Simon Whiskey Llewellyn.
Oh, mate, what a guy.
Right? He was a great fullback and pleasure to play with as well, because he was always entertaining.
I played a bit with Whiskey, but when I first came into seniors and into seconds, what a guy. Flipping hard, tough, but just a real top man when he spot on. Like.
Massive tackler, wasn't he? If you knew about it. Like, so yeah. So that was my team anyway. I know it's a bit different, but the one concern I got is the backs are more violent than the forwards.
Yeah, which has been a nice change, mate, of the last couple of teams we've had, because Turner's is prone to a card. Keith Brooks probably be prone. Jolly 100%. So yeah, you're going to struggle keeping them all on the park.
That's the big weakness there, is that we're going to be losing a few cards in the backs.
And the best thing about this, mate, is it's a whole different new names and stuff like that, pal, which is what I love about it, which is, great, pal. And I hope you enjoy doing it.
Fabulous. Been really good. Brought back 99% good memories.
But I really like him. So, just by chatting to you, but for this hour, I can just see how much the club means to you, and the passion that, you've got now, is just shines through on when we're talking, and people like yourself, but then there's so many other people that we got at the club, and who just love the club, and we appreciate everything that you're doing for us, pal. And hopefully now when all this is over, we can get back up there and we can have a few pints, and it'd be great just to sit down now with a couple of these boys and stuff and tell a few more stories. That's all I want, mate.
Yeah, well, we'll be able to tell some stories that we're not allowed to tell on you.
Yeah. Maybe have to do a different type of one if people like over 18s or something like that on your channel. I hope you enjoyed this chat, mate. I hope you
fantastic, mate. Really enjoyed. Thanks for having me, and it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, hopefully now, like I said, there's a few things we got, a few irons in the pan, really, with regards to fundraising. So the more people who will be watching these videos and sharing and liking and whatever, commenting, then hopefully we'll have something coming out soon. But thanks for all your time and thanks for all your effort, mate. And I really enjoyed just chatting rugby with you.
It's been great, mate. It's been a great hour. It's gone really quick.
Yeah, it has. And, it's just so evident how much the club still means to you, mate. And long may that continue. So thanks for everything, Gron.
I'll see you soon, pal. Cheers.
Take care, mate. Ta-ra, mate.